So what about the flip side? How can we use AI to help with the data governance and data catalog? I will say that this, from a personal journey here for mine around AI is that, I've been asked for several years as AI has been coming into, obviously more and more importance and it's able to do more and more. And people often ask, as someone who sells a data catalog solution and has generated one, hey, what is your data catalog doing with machine learning and AI to generate content? And frankly, most people who are setting out on a data governance journey struggle with keeping momentum and getting the content created because of the effort it can be, depending on how you're implementing it, to get your stewards and to get your people to create the content and do the curation of that information. So that it can be a limitation. So people say, hey, can we get AI to do this for us? And I think that personally, I've struggled with that as a concept, mainly because I've been thinking about the curation activity of writing glossaries or categorizing content in certain ways, which I think is a very difficult thing to do because it needs to be very accurate. And what I mean by that is the situation is I have, 7 different ways inside our organization that we classify. We work with a lot of colleges and universities, so maybe it's like classifying what is an active student in our institution. And it's oftentimes a conflict that they don't agree on that definition. So if they're asking, hey, what's the count of students, there's lots of different ways you can calculate that you can get different answers. So if you just throw AI into the mix and say, hey, I want AI to start doing that and creating definitions and things like that, it's now like you've added an 8th voice that you don't know if it's accurate or not anyway, right? So I feel like that has been I know that's what people want, is to have it do the curation activity. And there is some of that it can do, but we'll talk about where the limitations are. But where I've really pivoted myself to thinking that there is enormous value from AI, and this is kind of in some of the advancements we've had in the last couple of years, is in the general reduction in effort, this upfront part, in basically importing content into the cookbook, either to be curated, right? So the kind of raw content or doing initial analysis. So part of this is this legacy code analysis. You might have hundreds of old reports, or a bunch of old extracts or queries or scripts that you don't really know what they're doing, and you don't want to go through line by line, and you want to have AI do the analysis on that to say, this is potentially what the purpose is, this is the type, how we think it's calculated, to basically make this human readable and consumable within your catalog that then can get reviewed and approved, right? That can be an enormous acceleration to have it do that for it, and it's gotten really better at that. And the other thing is that there's a whole variety, thousands of different tools that you can have for writing reports or moving data or programming things or different data sources. And there's this long tail of data sources and format and tools and coding. And AI is really pretty good at basically saying, hey, can you look at this particular coding package from something from 10 years ago and put that in a format that I can, ingest into my catalog for the metadata for the report or the lineage for that extract. And it's getting better and better at that and knows more of those tools. It is okay at generating lineage. It's still not awesome at generating lineage, but it gets you pretty farther than it might be from scratch. That's another thing, is to generate lineage. And then another use is that, and this is not something that we do too much in our tool, but you can point. There are ways that you can essentially point an AI at your data and say, hey, find out where there's PII and all that kind of stuff. And then that information that comes out of that can be fed into the catalog for tagging those attributes. So really what we're focused on here in the cycle is to talk about this general reduction in effort, which can be dramatic if done correctly, right? But again, you don't want to let the AI just create this content on faith loaded in. You want to understand where it's, where you can trust it and where you want to trust but verify, so to speak.